folks, this is Pastor Mike Hoggard, pastor of Bethel Church in Festus, Missouri, and head of prophetic research ministry with another Watchman video broadcast. Who is it that showed up on national television, big, high-ranking news agency, the news that you can trust? Who is it that showed up on his program with Masonic insignia? Take a look at this. Guess. In fact, let me dissect the symbols first, all right? We have the compass or astrolabe. That is a Masonic symbol. Represents the masculine. It represents Osiris. We have look at there, we have a skull in there. The skull represents Osiris. It represents the God who has died and is awaiting resurrection. That's who that represents. And remember that Jesus died at the place of the skull. He's defeating the skull guy. Who's the skull guy? It's the Antichrist. And then we have a big circle around all of this, and it looks to me, and I'm reasonably sure because I've seen this symbol before, that we have the symbol of the Ouroboros. They say it's a symbol of eternal life. They say it's a symbol for a resurrection, as it were. It's the snake with the tail going into its mouth. Manly Hall, Albert Pike, all of the other New Agers, they say that the mouth, of course, is the sacred feminine, Mystery Babylon the Great, the mother of harlots. The tail would be the masculine, and they're fused together. The sacred fusion, that when the sacred fusion takes place, that's when the opposites are joined together. Good and evil, left and right, male and female, the divine and the human, the sons of God and the daughters of men. When they're fused together, then man is going to be better. We're going to have a better world. We're going to have a new age. Man is going to be immortal. We're going to be gods, like Ray Kurzweil said, when all of these things take place. And if you haven't guessed yet who this is none other than Glenn Beck, the Mormon / Mason. Oh, he's not a Mason. If he's a Mormon, he is practicing Masonry under a different veil. That's what it. In fact, here he is. Look at his little cummerbund there. Skull and crossbones. Is he a member of the Skull and Bone Society? No. But the idea of symbolism. And by the way, this is his magazine, Fusion Magazine. Two things fusing together. When you have, let's go back to the Hegelian dialect. You ever heard of the Hegelian dialect? I think it's Friedrich Hegel, German. Some good things have come out of Germany. I love bratwurst, all right? And I love sauerkraut. And the two together are just really good. But anyway, German gave us a lot of bad guys. And Hegel was one of them. And Hegel had this idea of how to create a new world or a new system of things, or how to get something brand new going. You take the old and you take the new and you mash it together, or you take opposites like creationism, and you take the opposite of evolution and you mash them together, and you have a new synthetic doctrine called theistic evolution. And just by the way, in the Bible, God always separated the opposites. We're going to see that here in just a little bit. But we've done several things on Glenn Beck. We've talked about him. I know he's popular. I know that, I watched him for a long time. I watched him. I thought, man, this guy talks real. He says what I want him to say. And he talks a lot about God and junk. And then I found out that he was a Mormon. That kind of went, well, the God that he's talking about is not the same God of this Bible. They're not the same God. Why evangelicals are courting this guy? I say I'll never figure it out, but I think I do get it. It is part of the routine and part of the plan that we're moving into right now. He's leaving Fox News, or he's quitting his daily program on Fox News. What does he have up his sleeve? I don't know. But I can tell you by the symbols that he represents himself with, there's not going to be any good coming out of this. And you just kind of, my question is, if you don't have, if you're really a good guy, why are you wearing the bad guys' t-shirts? Why are you wearing the bad guys' symbols? And I just kind of did a brief search, and I saw pretty much this same logo on a Masonic website. The two pillars, Jacob and Boaz, they talk about the crypt. The crypt is a very, very special and powerful symbol in Freemasonry, because the crypt is where the skull is. The dead guy. You see the Masonic image of a coffin. That it represents the beast who is in the pit. He's dead. He's in the grave. And he needs to be brought back to life, and he will be when the two pillars of the heavenly realm and the earthly realm are joined together in the royal arch by the keystone. Okay? They're fused together by the keystone. That's what that represents. So the fusion, all of this stuff. If you're a good guy, why are you wearing the bad guys' t-shirts? Now, let's move on. A couple of technology things we're going to deal with today. Somebody sent me this. Dining has no qualms with palm scans. This is, let's read the article here. University of Maine Dining Services is testing a program for entry to its facilities that could replace the use of Maine cards with a, quote, hands-on experience for students with meal plans. Over the next month, Dining Services will be testing a pilot program that uses a scan of an individual's palm in place of his or her Maine card. The program uses infrared technology to recognize the meal plan's user's palm and links that image to that person's Maine card account. Instead of swiping your card, the program is going to identify you by the palm. Oh, let's see, by the palm of your hand. Let's see. I've read that somewhere before. Is it in Revelation? Yes, and that no man might buy or sell save he had the mark or the name of the beast or the number of his name where? In their right hand. Let's look at the picture here. Well, look at there. It's his right hand. Imagine that. This is desensitizing everybody. Notice they're starting out with college students. College students, they're very ambitious, and they want to get into the new world. They want to create the world. They want to be part of the new world. Notice that this is not being test marketed at the senior center. Okay? It's not because seniors are going, I'm not putting my hand there. What's this all about? This is not the way we used to do it back in the old days. Then you're going to see it moving into the elementary schools. Instead of kids getting, and I remember in school, I got a little lunch card, little blue lunch card, and there was a nice old lady who sat there at a little desk when we would line up for lunch, and before we could get our container of milk, she took our lunch ticket and went snip like that. You know what? It was personally identifiable because it had my name on it, written down. Okay? But you'll start to see this in schools. It's just about getting everybody. And I caught this when Mobile came out with their Speed Pass. You have this thing on your keychain, and it's got a radio chip in it, and you buy your gas, and you just put that thing up to the gas pump, and all of a sudden, bleep, you've paid for your gas. And that was like 10, 15 years ago, and I'm going, I think I know where this is going. Okay? So do we not recognize people who have their cell phone in their hands? We talked about this. Pull up the software. By the way, I got something here. Here it is. Cell carriers to roll out mobile wallets in Utah. I'm going to talk about that in a minute, but they're using their cell phone now to scan and pay for things. Anything that has to do with their hand, either their palm or their handheld device or whatever it is, getting them used instead of reaching for their wallet, which I will admit, when I pull up to the drive-thru at Mickey D's, the last thing I want to do is lean this very large, heavy body over and try to grab with my newly repaired shoulder my wallet out of my back pocket. Boy, it would be so much easier if I could just go, hi, and it's paid for, right? We're getting used to it, okay? So here's this system. Cell carriers to roll out mobile wallets in Utah. We talked about this very program, a joint venture between three. Lust of the flesh, lust of the eyes, pride of life. Three of the nation's four largest cell phone carriers will soon offer the United States' first commercially available mobile fare payment program to a public transportation system, and it's called Almighty ISIS. A mobile commerce joint venture between AT&T Mobility, T-Mobile USA, and Verizon Wireless announced Tuesday it will roll out the pilot program in Salt Lake City in 2012. Salt Lake City, Mormons, Masonry, ISIS, Palm, kind of linking together here. Okay? the ISIS system. You don't know who ISIS is? She is Mystery Babylon the Great, the mother of harlots. We go back a few episodes, and I give a little bit more details on that. Here's another one. Interpol chief calls for global electronic identity card system. The head of Interpol has emphasized the need for a globally verifiable electronic identity card EID system for migrant workers at an international forum on citizen ID projects, e-passports, and border control management. You watch and see. You talk about fusion. You talk about the Hegelian dialect. Here is a country full of red-blooded, apple pie-eating, baseball-loving Americans. And that's what we are. We love America. And I do. I love America. And then we have, for some reason, no president in the last 100 years has ever dealt with the immigration issue. For some reason, especially in the last 20 years, our southern border is just leaking like a sieve. In fact, I am told we've had some visitors from Canada come down to our secret broadcasting compound. I don't know how they found us. That kind of worries me, that anybody could just pull up here and say, this is it right here, okay? But anyway, they've come down from Canada, and they'll tell you, getting across the border from the States to Canada and vice versa, they said it's awful. The checks and the security and everything like that. Those migrant Canadians wanting to move down here and steal all of our jobs. That's something we got to... And terrorists. Canadian terrorists, eh? Okay? Something to worry about. But for some reason, our southern border is they're just walking right in. Why? Opposites. Let's get them to clash. Let's create a huge problem. Huge problem. We got people coming in everywhere that are stealing American jobs and sucking our resources up and not working. Let's do that. Let's allow that to happen. Why? So because we have a system we want to unveil that if there's really no need for it, nobody will go for it. But now, all of a sudden, there's a need for it. You get it? It's about fusion, about crashing things together. Here we go. I couldn't wait to get to this. And I'm going to get to the three-strand baby here in just a little bit. I have had, probably on this one article, I've had more emails sent to me over this one issue, and I've got something to say about it. And I appreciate everybody's... You know what you're doing? You're watching. You've been reading the Bible. You've been educating yourself biblically. And a news story pops up, and you go, this is that which was spoken. Okay? And I like that. So we're going to kind of lead into it here a little bit. Here's an article. Could man soon be able to breathe underwater? Scientists eye possibility of merging human and algae DNA. It looks like the gillyweed from the Harry Potter films could one day be around. Stop right here. Remember, I'm trying to remember the story where one of these scientists had a problem. A genetic scientist or something like that had a problem, and he was watching a Harry Potter movie, and all of a sudden it went, wow, I've just figured out the answer to the problem. Okay, something with DNA or something like that he got from watching a Harry Potter film. And here's another one. Okay, science fiction or fantasy becoming reality. So scientists have discovered a way for humans to potentially breathe underwater by merging our DNA with that of algae, green scum. In research on salamanders, they found that oxygen-producing algae have bonded with their eggs so closely that the two are now inseparable. By studying the mechanism further, they hope that the same process could be applied to humans one day too. This would allow us to swim without coming up for air like Harry does in Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire. In the film, the slimy plant gives Harry gills on the side of his neck and lets him breathe underwater like a fish. Here's an interesting image for you. It's called Dagon. Okay, you know who he is? Dagon was the god in the Old Testament who wanted the throne of God. He wanted the Ark of the Covenant. He was part man and he was part sea creature. John said in Revelation 13, I saw a beast rise up out of where? Out of the sea. I remember a TV show when I was a kid. I was just fascinated with this show. I thought this was the coolest thing in the world. It was Patrick Duffy, you know, the guy from Dallas and some of these other programs. His first real gig on TV was a film, and then later a short-run TV show called The Man from Atlantis. Now, if you don't know what Atlantis is basically the antediluvian world. In other words, the world that was before the flood with all the giants and the technology and the strange breeding and all the genetic mutations that were going on. That's what Atlantis is. And this whole idea in the occult world is that Atlantis is going to rise again. Well, you understand that. That kingdom that was, by the way, Atlantis was ruled by 10 kings. That's Daniel chapter 7. That's all that Daniel chapter 2, Revelation chapter 13. It all ties together, people. So here we have this man from Atlantis. He's part man, part fish. He's got gills and webbed hands, and he swam funny. And I spent months in a swimming pool learning how to swim like that. I thought that was the coolest thing in the world. I kept waiting for my fins to grow. Okay? Never happened. Thank God. But now, our scientists can create that. We can take our DNA and mix it with something else to make something better. Is that how it happens? No, that's not how it happens. Here's the story that you've been watching all week. Boy, 2 years old, is first person in the world to be born with an extra strand of DNA. A 2-year-old boy has become the only person in the world to be diagnosed with an extra strand in his DNA. Alfie Clamp was born blind and with severe disabilities, which led doctors to carry out various tests. They revealed his 7th chromosome, interesting, has an extra strand of material which has never been documented anywhere in the world before. Doctors are baffled at his condition, which is so rare it does not have a name. Now, I have sympathy for poor Alfie. He did not choose to be born this way. He did not go receive a mark. And if you really want to know what this is about, we have a video called The Triple Helix, and I explain in that video how, and it's sort of the build-up from Jesus Christ's DNA in the Holy Bible and the mother of all secrets. And when you understand the secret, understand about DNA in the Bible, then you understand when they add something like a third strand of DNA, making a triple helix, when they add that's not good. Okay, that's not a good thing. And yet that's what's being talked about all throughout the scientific realm, is adding something to man's DNA. Now, DNA is the book that God wrote. God wrote a book. And God said you should not add to or take away from this book. And He said if you add to, listen to this now. He said if you add to the words of this book, I will add to you the plagues that are written in therein. God was warning us, don't monkey around, literally, don't monkey around with the book I wrote, with DNA. Don't mess with it, because if you do, the plagues are going to be added unto you. Don't we get that? Don't we understand what's going on? The plagues, go back and look at the plagues that God sent to Egypt. Go look at the 3 woes. Go look at the vials of wrath poured out. Go look at the trumpets and the opening of the seals. Go look at those plagues. God said, when they start messing with my book, I'm going to bring the plagues in. How close are we? So I feel sorry for poor Alfie. You pray for him, okay? Just pray for that. I wouldn't want my kid to turn out this way, but if he does, then praise the Lord. And then we'll raise him and love him and everything like that. So you pray for this family. I feel sorry for him, but here's my point with this, okay? They're talking all the time now about adding something to man's DNA or changing it somehow, some way. Adding this third strand. Well, here's a child who has a third strand of DNA added to his 7th chromosome. Okay? And it doesn't work out very good. It's not working. It didn't make him better. As far as, normal human is, it didn't make him better. It made him worse. He's blind. He has severe disabilities. That I wouldn't say that that's good. Okay? And so you stop and think about that, because God warned, Add the strand, monkey around with it. I'm going to add the plagues. Look at this. Because this is at the heart of it. In Daniel chapter 2, this kingdom that Daniel said was going to come, this fourth kingdom, they're going to fuse, they're going to mingle themselves with the seed of men. They are the iron kingdom, and we are the clay. I want you to remember that. Humanity is clay. We're made out of dirt. We're made out of clay. Here is the iron kingdom, and they're going to mingle themselves, fuse themselves, like Glenn Beck's magazine said it would. They're going to fuse themselves with man's DNA, literally with his seed. Okay? How's that going to work? God said it wouldn't. Notice Daniel chapter 2, and he said, "Whereas thou sawest the iron mixed with miry clay, they shall mingle themselves with the seed of men. But they shall not cleave one to another, even as iron is not mixed with clay." You know what he's saying here? And you just go read that. It doesn't work. Okay? It doesn't make man better. The only thing that does is the seed, the incorruptible seed of the Word of God. And so, and what we're talking about, I had pulled up some articles from the past. Here's one, July 2005, Human-Animal Chimeras. A chimera is an animal that has been, it's one of these ancient creatures that has different breeds into it. And this is really what we're dealing with. We're dealing with the idea that we're going to create a new human now that's going to be a sort of a mixed breed human. Homo novus. Ray Kurzweil talking about adding technology to that. We've got some things about that here in a little bit. This article here, Human-Animal Chimeras, talking about how they're mixing and working with stem cells and so on. Irving Wiseman of Stanford University and his colleagues pioneered these chimera experiments in 1988. When they created mice with fully human immune systems for the study of AIDS. Later, the Stanford group and Stem Cells, Inc., which Wiseman co-founded, also transplanted human cells into the brains of newborn mice as preliminary models for neural research. This was in 1988. And working with fetal sheep, Ismail Zanjani of the University of Nevada at Reno has created adult animals with human cells integrated throughout their body. No one knows what the consequences will be as the proportion of human cells in an animal increases. Wiseman and others, for example, have envisioned one day making a mouse with fully humanized brain tissue. The lawyer developmental program and tiny size of this chimerical mouse fairly guarantee that its mental capacities would not differ greatly from those of normal mice. But what if human cells were instead put in the fetus of a chimpanzee? The birth of something less beastly could not be ruled out. Within the U.S., at least, greater uniformity may emerge from general guidelines on stem cell use recommended in late April by the National Academy of Sciences. The NAS recommended that chimeras involving most animal species generally be permitted. It urged a ban on any use of human cells in other primates, however, as well as the introduction of animal cells into human blastocysts. It also warned against allowing human-animal chimeras to breed. Some human cells might have managed to infiltrate the animal's testes and ovaries. Breeding these animals could theoretically lead to the horrible, and in most cases assuredly fatal, result of a human embryo growing inside an animal mother. Think of the sickening world that we're living in right now. And God desperately tried to warn us, don't do it. It's like your mom. Your mom says, don't jump up and down on the bed. Okay? But Mom, this is fun. Come on, Mom. Okay? Come jump on the bed. Mom says, no, I don't want hip replacement surgery. Why is she telling the kids not to jump on the bed? The kids don't understand that. So if Mommy sits down and says, son, let me explain to you all the possibilities of things that could happen. It just goes right over the kid's head. And as soon as Mom's back's turned, they're jumping on the bed. And what's going to happen? And God's been telling us now for 6,000 years, quit jumping on the bed. And we're jumping on the bed. Genetically modified cows produce human milk. This is from April 2nd, 2011. The scientists have successfully introduced human genes into 300 dairy cows to produce milk with the same properties as human breast milk. Stop right here. Isn't it interesting Isn't it interesting that the first animal cloned was a sheep? The shepherd, Jesus Christ, and his sheep, the church, versus the idol shepherd and his sheep. It's interesting. Isn't it interesting that the Philistines gave an offering of mice for the plague that had come upon them? And we're dealing with mice. Isn't it interesting? The Bible is likened to milk. And we're dealing with milk. Cows that are giving human milk. Okay? We're messing with things that we shouldn't be, even in the law. And some people just refuse to believe that the Bible was anything but a book of ancient history, and it got it all messed up, and laws that were outdated that don't mean anything anymore. Au contraire, Leviticus 19:19, ye shall keep my statutes. Thou shalt not let thy cattle gender. You know what the word gender? It's the word genes. Okay? Genetics, DNA. Thou shalt not let thy cattle gender with a diverse kind. Thou shalt not sow thy field with mingled seed. Neither shall a garment of mingled of linen and woolen come upon thee. Linen is from vegetable matter. Wool is from animals. And here we are, we can mix vegetable DNA in with human beings, you know, the algae, and so we can breathe underwater and be like underwater beasts, Leviathan. And then, you know, we're mingling everything else with the lambs and the cattle, and the cattle are gendering now with a diverse kind. He said, you cannot sow your seed with mingled, your field with mingled seed. What's Monsanto in the business of doing? That's like, literally their cash crop is mingled seed. And God's been warning us for years. Don't do this. Please don't do this. Don't do this. I'm telling you, don't do this. And we're doing it. Now, I happened upon a verse this morning that I think is interesting. This verse here that says, thou shalt not let thy cattle gender with a diverse kind. Okay? Diverse. Look at Daniel 7, verse 19. Then I would know the truth of the fourth beast, which was what? Diverse from all the others. Notice verse 23, speaking of the kingdom. Thus he said, the fourth beast shall be the fourth kingdom upon the earth, which shall be what? Diverse from all kingdoms, and shall devour the whole earth, and shall tread it down, and break it in pieces. As it was in the days of Noah, and in the days of Noah, or shortly thereafter, I'm not sure which yet, either before the flood or after the flood, was this, the human-animal chimera. We know that all flesh had corrupted its way on the earth before the flood, but Noah was perfect in his generations, in his genes, in his genetic. You know why? Noah kept the law. He kept the law. Did he obey the law? No, he didn't obey the law. I haven't obeyed the law, and you haven't obeyed the law. Nobody's obeyed the law except Jesus. But he kept it. He kept the law. He kept the book intact. His sons were not mingled seed kids. Okay? Here's the story. We might be Martians. This came out March 27th. The search for extraterrestrial genomes. Planning on looking at your family tree? If you go back far enough in time, you might discover relatives who used to live on Mars. While that notion may seem a little far-fetched at first, don't laugh. According to MIT News, many scientists consider that life on Earth may be descended from organisms that arrived here from the red planet by hitching a ride on meteorites. Do you know what meteorites are? I saw a star fall from heaven. That's what meteorites are. They're calling falling stars, shooting stars. Folks, we're being set up. This world is all the imagery and everything like that. We're being set up, and this goes way back. But we're being conditioned, programmed. You give people enough information, and suddenly, when the paradigm shift is about ready to happen, they're going to believe it. They're going to buy it. They're going to be soaking it in, brother. they will be ready for the paradigm shift. I mentioned earlier Ray Kurzweil, who talks about the mingling of technology in with human beings. A major breakthrough took place here recently. Blood simple circuitry for cyborgs. Could electronic components made from human blood be the key to creating cyborg interfaces? Circuitry that links human tissues and nerve cells directly to an electronic device, such as a robotic limb or artificial eye, might one day be possible thanks to the development of biological components. Here they are. They've already figured out. We're figuring it out now. Our scientists are working on it, and they're figuring it out. We've been watching Harry Potter movies, and we've been watching Star Trek, and we've been reading a lot of occult books, and all of a sudden now we're getting these, and like Francis Crick, some of us have been taking small doses of LSD so that our mind is open, and we can imagine great possibilities. Health, imagination. Everything now is imagination. What we imagine, we will achieve. That's what they said at the Tower of Babel. I'm going to get to that here in a little bit too. But now whatever they're imagining, they're coming up with. They say, we can do that now. Okay? We're living in a dangerous world. We're fixing to be all fused here. Okay? Fixing to be all fused. This one just came out, April 11th, 2011. UN document would give Mother Earth same rights as humans. I love it. Bolivia will this month table a draft United Nations treaty giving Mother Earth the same rights as humans, having just passed a domestic law that does the same for bugs, trees, and all other natural things in the South American country. The bid aims to have the UN recognize the Earth as a living entity that humans have sought to dominate and exploit to the point that look at that word, dominate. Humans have sought to dominate and exploit to the point that the well-being and existence of many beings is now threatened. The wording may yet, I love this word, the wording may yet evolve, but the general structure is meant to mirror Bolivia's law, the rights of Mother Earth, which Bolivian President Evo Morales enacted in January. That document speaks of the country's natural resources as blessings and grants the Earth as a series of specific rights that includes rights to life, water, and clean air, the right to repair livelihoods affected by human activities, and the right to be free from pollution. It also establishes a ministry of Mother Earth. That sounds like the prophets who sat at the table of Jezebel, is what that sounds like. And provides the planet with an ombudsman whose job is to hear nature's complaints as voiced by activists and other groups, including the state. Now here's what I like. The devil is in the details. Look at this. If you want to have balance, remember that word? And you think that the only entities who have rights are humans or companies, then how can you reach balance? But if you recognize that nature too has rights, and if you provide legal forms to protect and preserve those rights, then you can achieve balance. Yin and yang, male and female. No longer should the male, the evil male, be in charge of everything. We want the female to be equal. Everything has got to be equal now. No one in authority, no one in charge, nothing like that going on. We want balance. And the whole idea of balance, the yin and the yang, this is the sons of God and this is the daughters of men, and they're going to be balanced together. That's what this is all about. You just read the article and the language comes out and you go, yep, this is that which was spoken by the prophets. I'm glad we have a sure word of prophecy to guide us. Here's another one, and I'm going to show you some verses here. Can genes be patented? Appeals court will weigh in soon. Patenting genes, genetics. Let's say that a gene structure is patented. Let's say that somebody comes down with a disease and they have a gene therapy to treat that disease. They inject the person with the genes. Those genes go into that person. Who owns them? Monsanto, Dow, some of these other companies. You don't belong to you anymore. You don't belong to God anymore. You now are fused and balanced. But you don't own yourself, and God doesn't own you anymore. Look at this, Deuteronomy 11, verse 24. Every place whereon the soles of your feet shall tread shall be yours, from the wilderness and Lebanon, from the river Euphrates, even unto the uttermost sea coast, even unto the uttermost sea shall your coast be. God was telling them that he said, when you walk across this land, every place that your feet touches, that's 10 toes, dominion. Dominate. Remember that word from that article. Mankind is dominating the earth. Well, yeah, because God said, put your feet down, the number 10 there, you're in charge. You're in control. In Genesis chapter 1, God blessed them and said, God said unto them, be fruitful and multiply and replenish the earth and subdue it. And have what? Dominion. That's where the word dominate comes from. Dominion over the fish of the sea and over the fowl of the air and over every living thing that moveth upon the earth. And so, taking away the control from mankind and placing it where? In Mother Earth. Patenting the genes. You're not your own. You're not bought by the Lord Jesus Christ. You're owned by principalities, powers, rulers of darkness, spiritual wickedness in high places. Daniel's fourth kingdom, the Mother Earth. They own you now. I always liken the change of DNA to the change of the Bible. When you change man's DNA, you change his body, what he is, into something other than what it was intended. When you change the DNA of the church, it starts out with false translations. You change a few words out of the Bible, then you change a few more. Then over time you change it, then you end up with a mess edge Bible. I mean, that's what you end up with. And so then it creates a church that doesn't look like what it was intended to look like. Somebody sent me this. After dealing with Operation Odyssey Dawn, you remember that? You know, when we go and bomb Libya, that was Operation Odyssey Dawn. Odyssey was a picture of the Antichrist who was dead, and he's brought back to life again. And that word dawn means he's rising. Okay, the Antichrist, the beast rising. Here's a church. This is Bob Jones and all these Kingdom Now and Joel's Army people. They're going to have a conference called Awaken the Dawn. In other words, and don't you get this? Now the DNA is all changed in the church. You have this idea that you have something that's asleep in you. Sleep is a picture of death in the Bible. You have something in you that's dead and it's asleep. And all you Baptist Christians out there, you just don't get it. I mean, you're dead inside. Okay? We're going to awaken something inside of you, and it's going to rise up, and now you're going to be this super Christian that's going to do exploits and be like Joel's Army. Yeah, they're right. They will be like Joel's Army, you know, with teeth of a lion and long hair, and that's where we're going with this. Here's another one. Conservative Christians slam fantasy church service in Romsey. A church service where the angels and saints make way for wizards and warlocks has been damned by conservative Christians. Here's a church now that's had their DNA changed, and they're mingling in Harry Potter and Lord of the Rings and everything that God said don't have anything to do with. They're mingling it in there. Here's another one. Countryside Community Church. These are things that people sent me. It says, expand your mind, inspire your soul. 1 Timothy chapter 4. This is exactly why Paul told the last two letters that seem to be written in the Bible. We know 2 Timothy was the very last thing that Paul wrote before he left this world. He tells Timothy, he said, study to show thyself approved. He reminds him that as from a child, thou hast known the Holy Scriptures. He says that all Scripture is given by inspiration of God and is profitable for doctrine, for reproof, for correction, for instruction in righteousness, that the man of God may be perfect, thoroughly furnished unto all good works. Paul was telling Timothy, as a minister, as a pastor, as a preacher, as a church member, as a Christian, everything that you have and everything that you need will come from the pages of the Bible, that book that you've known from a child. You knew the Holy Scriptures. Don't stray away from them, because he tells them in 1 Timothy chapter 4, now the Spirit speaketh expressly. He's pounding this in, that in the latter times some shall depart from the faith. Let me go back to this picture here, this Lifting Spirits Countryside Community Church, expanding your mind. Okay, that's like that's contemplative prayer is what it is. Okay, their church, lifting spirits. There are spirits right now in prison. In Revelation chapter 9, those spirits are going to be lifted out. Lifting spirits through expanding your mind. It all goes hand in hand. And Paul said that in the latter times some shall depart from the faith, giving heed to seducing spirits and doctrines of devils. When you change the DNA of the man, you change what the man is. When you change the DNA of the church, you change. The church is not a bride anymore. It's a beast. It's a very, very large, evil, brute beast made to be taken and destroyed. It all goes back to Babel. Babel was a work that man began to elevate himself to godhood that is unfinished. Okay, they didn't quite get it done. It wasn't accomplished yet. So let's go back to Babel. You've seen the European Parliament building. It looks like the unfinished Tower of Babel. Lots of other things that we've talked about. Here's something that came up, and I kept seeing this article about China and let's see, who is it? China and Brazil and Russia and India and South Africa. All these nations that have like been playing second fiddle to America. Well, they all had a meeting. Okay, they didn't invite us. They didn't invite America. They all had a meeting, and it basically was, we're the ones who are going to control all the wealth in the next 20 to 50 years, maybe even 100 years. America is not going to be a superpower anymore. In fact, it's practically in the dirt now. And we're going to meet and figure out how we're going to rise and take over. We're going to figure out that it's really going to dawn on us as Indians and as Chinese and as Brazilians and everybody else that we're the ones actually making all the products. We're the ones that are making all the money. We have all the loans, all the call centers, everything that Americans don't want to dirty their little hands to do. We're going to do it, and we're going to take over. So I've been seeing this all week, and I'm going, yeah, that's coming. My good friend Bill from Nebraska, secret broadcasting bunker in Nebraska, he said, Hoggy, he can call me Hoggy, okay? He said, Hoggy, did you happen to take a look at what this conference was called? Okay? It's the BRICS conference. BRICS. What is that word in the Bible? You know, like brick, okay? What do you do with bricks? Well, you clunk people over the head with it, like the Three Stooges. No, you build things with it. What do you build things with? Genesis chapter 11, verse 3. And they said one to another, Go to, let us make brick, and burn them thoroughly. And they had brick for stone, and slime they had for mortar. That's oil. Oil is what tends to like tie it all together. Okay. And they said, Go to, let us build us a city and a tower whose top may reach unto heaven, and let us make us a name, lest we be scattered abroad upon the face of the whole earth. Now, remember, in the King James Bible, the exact words that they speak, where they say, Go to, let us, and go to, let us, 46 words here. Okay? And you know, the whole Tower of Babel thing, I mean, that just kind of looks like DNA. And I'm going to bring this up on the screen. That old poster for the European Union, where they have the unfinished Tower of Babel and the 11 stars around it, the people who are building that tower, rebuilding that tower, were drawn in the image of bricks. The people are the bricks that are going to rebuild. That is going to be the rebuilt way to heaven. People are the bricks, and what are bricks made out of? What are they made out of? What is bricks made out of? Remember, bricks are made out of clay, dirt. That's what we're made out of. I saw this. I can't quite put it all together yet, but I think I get it. Okay? The Antichrist wants to reign throughout the whole earth. Okay? He's got to control everybody. Okay? How's he going to do that? Remember, Daniel 2 says, they shall mingle themselves with the seed of men, because iron and miry clay. Iron and clay. Clay is the human beings. They're going to put themselves inside of the clay, mingle themselves in the seed of men. Okay? Or with the seed of men. And I was just looking at the word bricks, or things associated with bricks in the King James Bible, and I saw this one. A stone, or the symbol of a stone in the Bible, the stone could either be Jesus, or the stone could be like an idol. Idols are made of stones. Okay? So watch this. Jeremiah 43:9. Take great stones in thine hand, and hide them where? In the clay, in the brick kiln. A brick kiln is like the fiery furnace. Hide them. The stones are inside the clay, which is at the entry of Pharaoh's house in Tahpanhes, in the sight of the men of Judah, and say unto them, thus saith the Lord of hosts, the God of Israel, behold, I will send and take Nebuchadrezzar, the king of Babylon, my servant, and I will set his throne upon these stones that I have hid, and he shall spread his royal pavilion over them. In other words, the way that this Nebuchadrezzar, the king of Babylon, this Antichrist type figure, is going to reign over planet Earth is through these stones hid inside the clay. I'm going to look further at this, but I think this is telling how it's going to, how is the beast going to take total dominion over everything? Okay, mingle himself with the seed of men. I've got a few minutes left here. I'm going to talk about rock and roll for a few minutes. And just an issue here that it kind of came up. Somebody sent me a video. Pastor Mike, take a look at this. And I've put some other things with it. We've been talking about Katy Perry lately. Katy Perry says, oh, my boyfriend's an E.T. and I'm from California, and I'm so cool. And now she has this interview here where you got to hear what comes out of her mouth. We talked about how she used to sing gospel music in a church, okay, and her mom and dad was kind of weird, and she says in here, oh, I wanted to be like the next Amy Grant from California, and I wanted to be cool and all this stuff. And now she's singing about I kissed a girl and I liked it and my boyfriend's an alien. If you've seen the video that come out with her and she's half human and half beast and she revives her dead alien boyfriend and all this, you get it, okay? Listen to what happened to her. Listen to what she says.
Almost 10 years ago.
I released a gospel record when I was 15 because I grew up in a household where all I ever did was listen to gospel music, and my parents are both traveling ministers, and so I kind of sang about what was going on in my life at 15, and that's how I got introduced to the music industry. I swear I wanted to be like the Amy Grant of music, but it didn't work out, and so I sold my soul to the devil.
I guess I sold my soul to the devil. Let me clear up a matter of a point of theology here. Let me see if I can find this real quick here. You don't have to sell your soul to the devil. You don't have to do that. Okay? I don't know if I can find the verse here. You're already born into sin. Okay? You're already His. When you're born, you're His. You don't have to sell your soul to the devil. I believe in redemption. I believe that God can take even the worst of people. There are some people that God turns over. Yes, I believe that. But that God can take even the worst of people and He can redeem them. Is there hope for Katy Perry? I don't know. I'm not her judge. Okay? I know that how she's living now and what she's doing right now and the things she's doing, she's very, very lost and she's without the Lord Jesus Christ. Can she be saved? Wouldn't hurt to pray for her. Okay? But it's indicative of the spirit that is inside the rock and roll music industry, the country music industry, even the Christian music industry. There's a spirit there that there's something other than the Lord Jesus Christ and the Bible that's in charge of that. Here's another clip. Kanye West saying that he sold his soul to the devil.
I sold my soul to the devil. I know it's a crappy deal. At least it came with a few toys like a Happy Meal.
The rapper Eminem, notice the E's pointing in opposite directions. That's fusion of opposites. He explains in his video or his song, My Darling, that he sold his soul to the devil. And then we have this guy, okay, who at one time told everybody said he was saved, he was born again. But here he is in an interview basically trying not to say that he sold his soul to the devil. Listen.
You're still out here doing these songs, you're still on tour.
I do, but I don't take it for granted.
Why do you still do it? Why are you still out here?
Well, it goes back to the destiny thing. I made a bargain with it, a long time ago, and I'm holding up my end.
What was your bargain?
To get where I am now.
Should I ask who you made the bargain with?
with the chief commander.
On this earth?
And this earth, and then in the world we can't see.
You have Rihanna, who obviously has sold her soul to the devil. Snoop Dogg. The imagery here in this video is that he made a deal with the devil. Now he's all corrupt, and now stop to think about it. Snoop Dogg is, he has all the drugs he wants, he has all the women he wants, he can basically do anything that he wants to, okay? He can please every desire of his flesh. He has money, he has everything, he can do whatever he wants to. Here's the problem. He's traded in what he could have had eternally for what was temporary. Esau, that's what Esau did. He took his eternal birthright and gave it away for an instant satisfaction of a bowl of lentils, bowl of pottage. That's what he did. Let's be careful. This world has a lot of delights in it. A lot of things that we want. A lot of things that make our flesh feel good. Let's be careful to remember that what we have waiting for us is far better than what we can have right now. Joel Osteen, you're wrong when you say that your best life can be now. You're wrong. The best life is awaiting us through the cross of Jesus Christ. These people that say, "Oh, I sold my soul to the devil, man." Okay, I believe some of these rock stars, rappers, people. I think they're demons. I think some of the record producers are possessed of devils, is what I think. God can deliver people like that. And just because somebody says, "Oh, I sold Katy Perry, I sold my soul to the devil," okay, she's a California Valley girl. You can just hear that by talking to her or by listening to her. Doesn't have to. You're already born into sin. Okay? You might choose to follow after the devil. My brother-in-law chose for many years of his life to follow after the devil and stay away from me and stay away from the Bible. But some people prayed for him. I did. His mom and dad did. His sisters did. People prayed for him. And God bought him back. Okay? God bought him back. Why? Because he loved him. The story in the book of Hosea, and I'm almost done. The story in the book of Hosea, where Hosea was told to marry a wife of whoredoms. And he doesn't just do it by commandment. He really falls in love with her, and he loves this woman. And so he marries her, knowing what kind of woman she was. And go read Hosea. So I'm just going to paraphrase here. And anyway, all of a sudden, she's out committing whoredoms again. And then she's not there anymore. He sends the kids out going looking for her. She's in the slave markets. And Hosea a picture of the Lord Jesus Christ, buys her back and says, now you're mine for keeps, for good. That's what Jesus can do for you. Whatever you've sold, if you've sold out to sin, you've sold out to the devil, whatever you've done, it may not be too late for Jesus to redeem you and buy you back. This is Pastor Mike. I love you. God bless you. Keep us in your prayers. Thank you for all that you do for us, all these great articles you send our way. Thank you for your help. If you want to help us, you can. Thank you for that. God bless you. But just keep praying. Keep standing for the Lord. Keep watching. The days are getting near. God bless you. Take care. Bye-bye.